Has your partner betrayed you? Today we're going to talk about how couples can recover from betrayal trauma.
Good one. Good one. A lot of people have been talking about this, and I feel like we might as well talk about 3 questions about how to rebuild trust with your partner. So the first question is, how can you let go of your hurt feelings? I think the first thing to acknowledge is that you need some time to feel your feelings. I think a lot of times when there's been a big betrayal in a relationship, both people kind of want to jump past that step of feeling the hurt because it hurts. And because when the partner who's done the betrayal sees the other person hurt, then they feel more guilty, and so they don't want to see that, right? And the other person doesn't want to feel hurt either, because that just makes them feel more vulnerable. But I think it's an important step. Really, the first step is to just allow yourself to feel those feelings.
Some people also know the wisdom of eventually letting go of a thing, and I think they sort of skip over that step for that reason, like they just try to rush to the letting go of it, you know? So I think that's one of the reasons too. So another thing that you can do in this situation is to talk to someone. You can reach out to family and friends. You can reach out to, a professional to help, even help you and your partner get over an issue. Of hurt feelings. So that can even if you're having a hard time like feeling your feelings, others can help you with that. Like sometimes it's hard to identify exactly what you're feeling. Are you feeling scared that it happened? Are you feeling angry that it happened? Are you feeling guilty because you feel like maybe you did something to make it happen? Our feelings are complicated, and sometimes it's hard to identify what we're feeling. So talk to someone about it.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't have somebody to talk to in person, there are a lot of online groups out there that you could reach out to. I know those can be problematic too, but it's helpful often just to be able to express the feelings that you're feeling, Then also I think it's important to take time for yourself. If you've just had a major betrayal, you're going to need some time and space to feel better. It's not necessary for you to just resume normal life activities when you've just experienced a big betrayal,
Yeah, for sure. And another thing is that actually understand, and I think this part is really freeing when I think about it, understand that you're in charge of your own feelings and how you feel, so that when you're ready to feel something different or change the subject, you're in charge of that. And it doesn't have to be all at once. Maybe it's just for a certain amount of time each day, or maybe a little bit in the morning when you wake up, to kind of shift gears and think about things that you're grateful for, or that please you, or something that puts you in a better frame of mind. So just understanding that those feelings, even though something has happened outside of you that has triggered you to feel like this, you're actually the one that's feeling like that, and you're the only one who can feel something different. So
another thing that I think is really important is to practice forgiveness. And this to me is very different from forgiving. It's about practicing forgiveness. I think that it takes time to forgive a major betrayal, and just like your feelings are going to come out in waves, I think the forgiveness is probably going to come in stages, if ever, right? Sometimes people aren't able to forgive, but I think just for the sake of trying to manage your feelings, it's a good idea to start to practice forgiveness, and at least start to consider how it would be if you could get to the other side and forgive the person.
Yeah, absolutely. And another part is to practice empathy along with that. So a person who's hurt you, who say you've been in a relationship for a while, I mean, that's how you get hurt usually, is because you've established some sort of what you thought was trust and love with them. And the fact that they don't betray you, that doesn't automatically make them become like evil or the devil or anything other than really what they were, what you thought they were the day before. So to kind of practice a little bit of, feeling for them. It's important to be able to, even though the person maybe did something that hurt you, to not kind of judge them in a way that's actually damaging to you, that you're spending like a lot of time talking about, like, oh man, they're just like a lousy person. They always were a lousy person. And one way to do that is with empathy, is to kind of put yourself in their shoes, and also maybe even think about like, have I ever done anything that maybe wasn't exactly like this, but maybe similar to this, and putting yourself in their shoes, and remembering that they're a person, even though you're hurt, just doing a little bit of that, feeling empathy and compassion for their side of things. That's hard to do when you've been hurt, but it actually will help you, is the good fringe benefit of it. It'll keep you from being so hurt and damaged by your feelings of anger and negativity that come up about that.
And how can you rebuild trust with your partner? I think that one of the ways that you can start to rebuild trust with your partner is actually a solitary exercise, which is to just practice gratitude for them. Even if you're so mad, I'm sure you can think of a few things you're grateful for about your partner. And I think focusing on that at least once a day is really important to rebuild the trust with them, if that's what you want. Sometimes when there's been a major betrayal, you're clear. You don't want to keep going. We're talking about stuff to do if you're with a person and you want to stay with them, or you're not sure. Then these are things that could be helpful.
Yeah, and actually on the gratitude part, it's just a thing that's going to make you feel better. So if you can't feel gratitude about your partner, but you're wanting to use it as a way to feel better, spend time thinking about all the other things that you're grateful for. And maybe they're things that are like kind of close to your partner, and maybe they're not. Maybe you're simply just grateful for, your other friends and family, or you're grateful for your wonderful home. But maybe about your partner, maybe they betrayed you, but they're maybe a great parent to your kids. You can be grateful about those things. So just kind of, you can pick and choose, but gratitude's super important to helping you feel better in this situation. And then another one is to set boundaries. So maybe you actually didn't have any boundaries set before about expectations and behaviors. But if there's a betrayal, that's a good time to maybe reestablish that, like kind of what is accepted behavior and what isn't accepted behavior. What are you maybe not willing to continue to have be part of you guys' relationship, and what maybe even what things they might even come up with too, like kind of a way to sort of reestablish, how you guys will go forward being with each other. So yeah, boundaries are very important.
Yeah, this morning I was talking to a friend about boundaries, and I was saying sometimes setting boundaries is the most loving thing you can do, because no one really wants to hurt you. So just don't let them, set some firm boundaries and stop them.
Yeah.
It's good for you and for them. Another thing you can do to rebuild your trust with your partner is to make and commit to a plan with them. This isn't going to get better without some action. I think that a lot of couples I've worked with have ignored the feelings of distrust and betrayal that have kind of followed them around for years, and they just kind of hope that with time it's going to get better, but it really doesn't. It doesn't go away without some kind of intentional action. And so whatever it is, whatever you guys think will work for you, whether it's going to couples coaching or going to, some couples retreat or taking action every day at home, doing some kind of appreciations of each other and resetting boundaries that work for both of you, whatever it is, come up with a plan and commit to it, because it's not going to get better without any action.
Yeah. And another thing is just even though you've already been hurt, be willing to be very vulnerable. That's important for both sides, I think, although you can only control like your end of it, right? Be vulnerable and honest and open, and don't go into it with a fearful heart of being hurt. Like if you're in a place where you're just like scared of being hurt, it's hard to rebuild the trust. So just be vulnerable and honest, and just express your needs as clearly and honestly and authentically as you can. And just, be open, be honest, be vulnerable. It's important.
And if you are feeling too hurt to be vulnerable, maybe that's a sign that you need to go back to one of the previous tips where you go talk to someone else for a while and you let yourself feel your feelings and take some space and do something you love without your partner, And then when you come back, hopefully you can be vulnerable. I think that if you continue to work on building trust with your partner, you can learn to trust them again. It's just incremental. It kind of takes time. I think you have to see that they mean you well and they mean what they say and their actions are consistent with what they're saying. And then you can, little by little, start to trust them again.
Yeah, that's why it's this idea of rebuilding trust, like brick by brick, they're doing actions, that you're seeing, like they're holding their word, they're sticking to what they said, and also too, you can kind of create that with a list of like kind of maybe things that you need, and see how well they do with committing to those, and start to rebuild that trust and not get to a point where you're not sort of just holding on to and expecting, the same behavior to happen again, So I think you can rebuild it sort of brick by brick, and that rebuilding, like jumping off from that, like the next thing to do would be to maybe create like a future vision for yourself. Like, where do we see ourselves in the future, and how do we want to interact with each other going forward? And what do we want this life we're building to look like, and be like really clear, and it be really collaborative, and really open to what you both want. So create this clear vision of the future.
Yeah, it's so much fun to create a future vision with your partner. If you haven't done it before, we'll put a card to a video where we give instructions on how to create a relationship vision. It's a lot of fun. So how can you rebuild safety once there's been a major betrayal? I think the number one thing you can do to listen to each other. I think that, a lot of people know about active listening and how to, reflect back what their partners are saying so they understand that you've heard them, and how to clarify whether you've heard somebody correctly. But there's not a lot of people who actually practice it every day with somebody they're cohabitating with. Right? It's hard. It's hard to stay present and just listen to one another. It's really key to listen to each other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And another thing is like to commit to caring behaviors with each other. There's some really great exercises in the book Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendricks and Helen LaKelly Hunt. And some of these activities are having each partner write down caring behaviors that they would appreciate, and kind of committing throughout the next few weeks to do the behaviors as kind of a surprise. So this is also like, this is committing to them, but also practicing caring behaviors. And then there's another activity where it's like the other person comes up with a list of like things that their partners maybe mentioned, or things they just know that their partner likes, and committing to those caring behaviors. And just committing to being loving, and in that kind of frame of mind, and having that kind of energy, just helps rebuild that kind of safety, that feeling of safety and that feeling of being cared for.
And then I like to help couples create a love bubble in their home. It sounds corny, but it's really effective. So if you've had some kind of breach of trust with your partner, and you're wanting to start over and create safety in your relationship, find a room. It can be your bedroom or some other part of the house where you really make it feel like love, and you can decorate it in ways that feel really loving and nurturing. And the rule is, once you step into that love bubble, you can only say loving things to one another. That's what I mean by creating a love bubble, is, you just create the space, and it's just one room at the beginning, but over time you expand that space, hopefully to the rest of your house, right? So that you're only saying loving things to each other no matter what room you're in. But it's nice to start out with a small space that you can really, infuse with your love, not just energetically, but also, through the decor and the space. So.
Yeah, it's nice. And another one is to be patient. Another important point is to be patient with yourself and them, right? Be patient with yourself and them, the other person, because it's not going to be a straight line. You guys are going to improve some things, and maybe there'll be a little bit of a shift backwards, and then a shift forward and a shift backwards. So it won't just be one straight line to the end. So just really be patient for yourselves as you grow and learn this new way of being with each other,
Mm-hmm. And then as you're rebuilding the safety, I think it's really important that you do at least weekly check-ins, formally ask each other questions like, how can I make you feel more loved in the coming week? And are there any feelings you feel like you haven't been able to express to me this week? Is there any unfinished business that we need to discuss? Things like that. That needs to happen at least once a week. If you can, once a day. If you're recovering from a big betrayal, it might be a daily thing that you do at the end of every day, because you're not going to feel whole as a couple again until you start to really attend to how the other's feeling. So
yeah. And then finally, recommit to each other. You may even do this in a formal way, to recommit your love and your intentions to one another now at this new beginning. Mm-hmm. Figure out what would be included the same way you would for any sort of maybe commitment ceremony or marriage, or just maybe even some of the things if you create a vision for your relationship, as we talked about before. Maybe some of the things come off of that, what you're going to do to recommit that establishes you two as a loving couple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe you even jump the broom again.
Or do a hand fast.
Something.
Yeah.
Something, so that you feel reconnected and recommitted to a new kind of relationship that is, renewed by your being able to rebuild safety and trust. Nobody out there is perfect, right? And so just because there's been a major breach in trust doesn't mean that you can't rebuild and have something even better on the other side.
Yeah. And I guess we'll just say one more time, though, it's like you just, assess. Everybody's situation is different. If it's a case of like, this is multiple times or something, well, that's one thing. But if it's a case of you really want to save your relationship, probably can.
Yeah. All right. I hope you feel loved and hopeful until we see you again.
Bye-bye.